Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we are working on core strength. It is super important to train your core in a variety of different ways, so this means you need to train for anti-flexion, anti-rotation, anti-extension, and so on. It's also very easy to think that you are training your core, but if your core is weak and you have overactive or stronger hip flexors, then those muscles will actually take over some movements that you might think are doing the right thing. In this video, I will show you a way to strengthen your hip flexors and also how to isolate your stomach muscles. Oh, and just remember, you don't train your core for a 1 rep max lift. You train your core for endurance. So this means lighter weights, lots of reps, and time under tension is the best practice to get into. All the equipment you'll need today is a mat and some space on the floor. The first position that we are going to work on today is the hollow body position. So you'll be laying on the floor. Think about squeezing your belly button into the mat, reducing the space between your ribs and your hips, legs outstretched, arms outstretched, point those toes, squeeze those quads, really try and reach the wall in front of you and behind you. Really hold this position, but also don't forget to breathe. If having your arms and legs outstretched is a little bit too much for you, feel free to bring your arms in or try and bring one knee to chest. The ultimate goal is, of course, to have arms and legs outstretched, so just do whatever you can to build up to that point. The exercise that we are going to work on now is a Superman exercise. So you're going to lay on your stomach with your arms outstretched in a Y position, pointing your thumbs up to the ceiling. You're going to lift your torso as much as you can, as well as your legs off the ground, and try and hold for 1 or 2 seconds before coming back down again. Be very gentle in this movement. It is low impact, but it is very important that we use these muscles in our posterior chain as well as the muscles at the front. This next exercise we will focus on isolating our hip flexors, so that means we'll sit up nice and straight, legs out in front, alternating, lifting each leg up and then placing gently back down again. If you're happy to progress this exercise, let's lift up the straight leg and then bend at the knee, touching knee to opposite elbow, almost like a seated bicycle crunch after you have done your hip flexor leg raise. We are now moving into Russian twists, so I want you to bring your torso back so it's about at a 45-degree angle to the floor, and just really focus on showing your chest and trying to almost touch the floor with that elbow. I see a lot of people moving a weight in their hands and it just becomes a shoulder exercise, but this is an exercise for your core and stability and for anti-rotation of your spine, so it's very important that you actually train your spine during this rotation movement. So now we're going to work on our plank position. I'd like you to be on your forearms or on your elbows on the floor, squeezing absolutely every muscle that you can think of. You're going to push your shoulders up a little bit away from the floor and thinking about squeezing the floor, so pulling your elbows towards your feet and your feet towards your elbows, almost like you're pinching the floor there. It's very easy to complete a mindless plank, but this is not why we're here. You should be shaking after about 20 seconds of doing it this way. So please just have a think about it, have a good stretch out afterwards, and let's just try and plank properly. For this next exercise, you're going to be in a tall plank position, pushing up through your shoulders, squeezing your feet, your knees, your thighs, your calf muscles together, and just gently bringing those knees down and tapping the floor and then coming back up into this strong, tall plank position. So next we're going to move on to a side plank. This is actually a pretty advanced movement, especially if you don't have a lot of strength in your shoulders. So try and make sure that your elbow is underneath your shoulders. You can pop up onto your knees if you want to, if you're just getting started, and then play around with lifting that top leg. Otherwise, if you are a little bit more advanced, still stay on your elbow and bring your legs out nice and straight, arm up in the air, looking up at your arm and trying to keep those hips nice and high and slightly more forward than what you feel like you should be. If just holding a normal side plank is too easy for you, then try bringing your knee up and touching your elbow. Please make sure that you complete any and all plank variations the same amount of time, or at least the same amount of effort on each side. I like to do my specific plank exercises on my elbows or on my forearms because I do find that being in that tall plank position actually fatigues my shoulders, and I don't want my shoulders to be a limiting factor in training my core. I want my core to get stronger, and that is where my focus is. This next exercise we will be doing toe touch crunches. So laying on your back in a nice comfortable position with your legs up in the air, I'd like you to think about reducing the space between your ribs and your hips and really rolling up to attempt to touch your toes. Think about each vertebrae coming up off the ground and then rolling back on again. With your legs in the air like this, it reduces the chance of your hip flexors getting involved in any kind of ab movement, so just try and embrace that burn that you should be feeling in your stomach muscles. Moving on to the next exercise, you're going to remain laying on your back with your legs out straight. You will complete a bicycle crunch into an alternating V-up, so that is straight arm, straight leg on the same side before moving over to the other side. I do want you to think about bringing your shoulders off the ground to try and touch your toe in the alternating V-up portion of this exercise. The last exercise that we have today is a reverse plank. So if you're unable to get yourself into the position that I am showing you right here, feel free to use a couch and you can set up on your elbows. The goal here is just to squeeze your butt, squeeze your core, squeeze everything, bring your hips up nice and high, and just try and stay in this position for about 30 seconds or so. That's it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends, and I will see you on the next one.